Good afternoon, and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I'm Razzle11, and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. Going to take a look at some pitching and the overall matchups for the LCS two-game slate between tonight and Wednesday. Utilizing the stuff we look at for tonight for the showdown itself, but also trying to touch on tomorrow's pitching matchup as well. Give you access to information for both kind of setup, showdown, and regular slates. I will be looking at DraftKings as that is where a majority of my action falls. But yeah, we get into Game 2 in the NLCS and Game 3 in the ALCS. A very exciting Game 1 between LA and Milwaukee. Blake Snell absolutely shoved, which we kind of expected. Priester was pretty strong as a long man. Strikeouts weren't there. Dodgers bullpen almost blew it. I thought the Yank Roki Sasaki a little too quickly. I get it, like, potential issues were there for sure, but his pitch style would have been really strong against Contreras and Turang from a pitch profile standpoint. So I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I understand they wanted a ground ball if a ball was put in play. But we're not here to talk about that one. We're here to talk about the one tonight between Yamamoto and Peralta. Yamamoto, rough performance last time out in the postseason, but his first postseason start was dominating against the Reds. He had been on a really strong run, so the fact that there was a rough start in there doesn't really scare me at all. The Dodgers are minus 121 favorites. Game total is 7.5. Juices on the under. Just feels like a pretty decent spot for both pitching. I think when you look at some of the splits involving Freddie Peralta, I think people are going to lean that way. I think I'm going to lean towards Yamamoto, but I'm just going to lean to both guys over the other two tomorrow. Yamamoto was atrocious against the Brewers the one start in the regular season. Couldn't get out of the first inning. But he is pitching on the road where he's been far better. I shouldn't say far, but he's been quite a bit better than when at home. His home run rate drops a lot. Walk rate drops, strikeout rate jumps. Or actually, strikeout rate kind of drops a little bit in a per inning basis, but allowing far fewer base runners. Big thing for me with Yamamoto is the fact that he's another big split guy, split usage. And most of the Brewers lineup struggles extremely against them. They have two guys that actually do a ton of damage and a third that does decent. Frelick is decent. Churio absolutely destroys splitters. Thankfully, Yamamoto throws it a lot more to lefties, and Yelich actually crushes splitters as well. But the rest of the projected lineup is pretty bad against that pitch offering. The other big pitch that probably comes into play would be his curveball this evening. That's a tougher one because some of the Brewers do have some decent ISO numbers against that pitch. But Turang, Frelick, Joey Ortiz struggle pretty big against it. Durbin's not great. Jake Bauers, if he's in the lineup, not the best either. But Andrew Vaughn, Contreras, power, but like Contreras and Churio have pretty low WOBAs against that pitch. So there's some things, that stand out for what Milwaukee could have success in, but there are also a lot of things that stand out to me where Milwaukee could struggle against Yamamoto. His sinker usage against right-handed bats going to come in very handy because Churio, Contreras, Andrew Vaughn, if he's in it, Durbin, and Joey Ortiz all kind of struggle against the sinker from a right-handed pitcher. So profiling for Yamamoto stands out to me quite a bit. So I do think he does bounce back from this start against Philadelphia. I would consider the Philadelphia lineup more dangerous than the Brewers. More boom busty, maybe, best way to put it. I do think there's a bounce back in strikeouts. Snell absolutely dominated last night. I get that he's a left-handed pitcher, and for a lot of the season, I preferred left-handed pitchers against the Brewers just because they generally don't play a ton of platoon split. They let Turang, they let Frelick, Yelich always in the lineup against those left-handed pitchers. And then like Collins or Blake Perkins, I think they've been worse from the right side. Don't quote me on that for sure, but I feel like they have been. So Snell probably played into a platoon advantage a little stronger than what Yamamoto does. But I do think Yamamoto is the guy that I prefer. Probably my 1A to Peralta as the 1B. Strikeout numbers, both pitchers in this game have K-props of 5.5. Yamamoto's juiced to the over higher than Peralta, but both guys with K-props of 5.5. So pretty strong numbers. Yamamoto's outs prop 16.5. Juice is on the under, so basically like a 5-inning guy. Peralta's juiced to the over of 14.5, so pretty much a 5-inning guy as well. Peralta, really strong against the Dodgers in his first start, was mediocre in his second one, averaging out to be a pretty solid performance. Everybody knows he's been better at home than on the road, but like his road numbers on the surface are a little odd. He's still allowing very few hits. It's just those home runs at the wrong time. And speaking of home runs, like he's in a stretch right now where he's allowed 8 home runs over his last 6 starts. Now you're thinking, oh, that's just 1.3 per start. Yeah, but when he's given up just 24 home runs on the season in 35 starts, he's basically given up 33% of his home runs in 16% of his starts. That's a concerning increase, and we do see that a lot with pitchers, especially pitchers that like to pitch up in the zone. As the season goes on, as they wear down a little bit, etc., their stuff at the top of the zone just doesn't work as strongly as it did, earlier in the season. I'm not saying that Freddie Peralta has hit a complete wall and he's just going to give up a bunch of home runs, but I do worry a little bit. Some of the projection sites that I've seen have the Dodgers projected between 1.6 and 1.9 home runs in this game tonight. That's a strong number to me. Feels somewhat high, considering the Brewers are projected around 1. I think I've seen it between 0.95 and 1.15. A small stretch, but it's still, they're projected almost half as many home runs as the Dodgers. And that comes with Peralta just giving up more home runs recently. Strikeouts have kind of been all over the place, but I do like the upside that he offers. There's just danger in the Dodgers lineup. We obviously know that, right? Like, Shohei's always dangerous. Freddie homered and doubled last night. Like, he's probably turning it on in the right spot. Betts and Teoscar have been pretty strong in the postseason. Muncy's always a double-down candidate when facing a right-handed pitcher, so it's not the easiest of matchups. His pitch that's going to make a break tonight probably going to be the changeup against left-handed bats. Shohei absolutely destroys it. Freddie Freeman, not very strong against it. Max Muncy destroys it. But Tommy Edmonds pretty bad against it. Dodgers ended up pretty right-hand heavy overall without, Conforto making the starting lineups or the postseason rosters. So I think Peralta's definitely in play. To me, he has more volatility than Yamamoto, even though Yamamoto's coming off an atrocious start. Peralta's coming off one that wasn't all that great either. The strikeouts were great in the Chicago series. 15 of them in 9 2/3, but 3 home runs. And they're home runs with guys on base, in the last one. Or they're just, 3 home runs out of the 7 hits allowed in that series. So you're just giving up big home runs. And that's not ideal when facing a Dodger squad that is loaded with power up and down the lineup. Now kind of switching over to the Toronto-Seattle matchup. Toronto looks rough. Getting swept at home the first 2 games is really, really tough. George Kirby, obviously a dangerous pitcher. 2 double-digit strikeout games in his last 5. Pretty solid in that Detroit series, making 2 starts, 14 strikeouts. Obviously, this matchup doesn't allow a ton of strikeout upside, but he is pitching at home where he's been far more dominant than on the road. It's just not ideal for Toronto to go down 2-0 and have to travel to Seattle. Seattle definitely has the pitching advantage in this matchup, but I think Shane Bieber could surprise a little bit. He is the 4th of my rankings, I guess, behind Kirby, just because, I feel like Kirby, he's basically a 5-inning guy. It's a pick'em there for Kirby. Strikeout numbers, they both have K-props 4.5. Bieber's actually slightly higher than Kirby, as far as the juice goes, but Seattle is a -137 favorite. Game total is 7 with juices on the under. So projected to be potentially lower scoring, which is a little shocking, but it is a big ballpark. I just think there's going to be more balls put in play in this one. More balls put in play gives us a better chance at some runs, etc. Bieber, his start against the Yankees wasn't atrocious. Defense kind of let him down. He allowed a lot of hits and base runners. This home run issue is the thing that I'm kind of worried about in this one. Aside from that last start against the Yankees, the 4 previous, he allowed 6 home runs to be hit. And that's kind of where all the runs are coming from. Strikeouts aren't there. Strikeouts have basically come down every start since his debut with Toronto back in August. So that's a trend I do not love at all. Seattle at home, you allow them to put the ball in play a lot. I think good things can happen. So that makes it rougher. He's going to be the guy with the shortest leash out of these 2 games. Toronto down 2-0. They really can't afford to go down 3-0. This is basically a must-win for them, in my eyes. Doesn't mean that Toronto's just going to blow through their bullpen, but if he struggles in the 2nd, 3rd inning, there's a route for him coming out, and Toronto just turns it into a bullpen game. The problem is they pretty much had to do that, and the bullpen got knocked around last game as well. So it's really tough to trust. Toronto needs Bieber to step up. So part of me, the baseball guy, thinks, okay, Bieber nuts up and, goes out and does something like this, like he did against Baltimore. 6 innings, 1-run ball, striking out 5, passing it on to the bullpen, giving them a chance. But I feel like that's the least likely outcome of the 4 pitchers. Kirby just feels like the guy that's going to be something similar to that. Maybe a 5-inning, 2 runs allowed. I don't think he's going to strike out 10, but 5 innings striking out 6. His K-prop, like I said, was at 4.5. Juiced slightly to the over. Where Bieber is 4.5 juiced over stronger. But I think that Kirby probably has the safer floor, safer pitching line when all said and done. So it's tough. I think a lot of people are going to be on the Seattle bats. Kind of Seattle bats mixed in with some Dodgers. I kind of like the idea of Toronto and Seattle bats mixed in with some Dodgers. But I'm just going to utilize pitching in the first game a lot more than the second game at this point. For the showdown slate, I think we should see enough out of these pitchers that we don't really need to consider a lot of the bullpen. You just want to use the pieces that are used a lot. Uribe, McGill down here, maybe in Koenig, and then, God, I don't know who Sasaki again probably gets a chance. Vesia probably wouldn't be a bad guess as well, since he was warming up when Trinan was brought in as well. So those are guys that they're going to trust the most. Sasaki, Trinan, Vesia, those sort of guys. And the Brewers can go a number of different ways, but I would guess McGill and Uribe. But there we have it. There's our first look at the options. If you enjoy what it brings to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on. Get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, sheets, Discord, etc., I will drop links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's R-A-Z, for 10% off monthly. Best of luck.